In somewhat of a surprising signing, the Philadelphia Flyers have decided to sign veteran forward Derick Brassard. Brassard has been coming off of a somewhat down year playing for the Arizona Coyotes, a team that struggled in its own right, but before that played for the New York Islanders and definitely saw some success. Last year he had 8 goals, 12 assists and 20 points and a -10 in 53 games, but the previous season before that he had 10 goals, 22 assists, 32 points in 66 games, and a -2 with the much better team, the New York Islanders. At 33 years old, Derick Brassard comes in at $825K for 1 year. This is a bargain deal for the Philadelphia Flyers, as they did have somewhat of a tenuous spot open at third-line center. Now, the Flyers do have some options here with Scott Laughton, Claude Giroux being shifted at second-line center, and potentially Hayes playing third-line. Other players such as Morgan Frost, Tanner Laczynski could have been named as third-line center, but I think that General Manager Chuck Fletcher decided to err on the side of caution here and not rely too much on rookie players, or at least young prospect players, and guys who have played the role before. Now, Derick Brassard back in the day was one of the more talented playmakers around the NHL. Never truly a top-line player, but definitely a very good middle six forward in his own right. His career high was 60 points with 19 goals and 41 assists for the New York Rangers in 2014-15, and the following year in 2015-16 he did have 27 goals, 31 assists for 58 points. Probably his best career, definitely his best career year, considering he scored 27 goals. Now, I wouldn't expect that here on the Philadelphia Flyers, but a 15-goal season is definitely within reach for a player like this, and maybe a 30-point year. Something the Flyers could definitely look forward to, as they definitely had a younger group of players at center last year and decided again not to err on the side of caution here and really bring it as a playoff contender by bringing veterans into the lineup. Now, this type of signing can easily be buried in the minors if Derick Brassard struggles mightily. It's not much on the salary cap, and it allows guys like Morgan Frost, who missed all of last year, to really take his time entering the NHL and not putting any additional pressure. What this also does is it stops some of the younger players from demanding too much money earlier in their career, as their roles aren't elevated immediately. This gives the Flyers plenty of options, and Derick Brassard, while a talented player and definitely has the gift of scoring some goals and definitely setting up plays, he probably won't play a large offensive role for this team, as they are quite prepared in the top 9. Outside of a center position that was potentially open, now we can consider it closed, as far as if Brassard doesn't take it, there will be a Frost, there could be a shift to the middle, there is always a Scott Laughton. But it does seem like Chuck Fletcher wanted his bottom 6 to be relatively effective against any type of group of players. Now, the Flyers are already against the salary cap, so it should be expected that Tanner Laczynski, Frost, and maybe even Wade Allison might be starting off in the minors just to keep the team under the cap. The Flyers still need to carry an extra forward. They'll probably go in the cheaper department. But at this point, it's way too early to tell, and maybe Chuck Fletcher is thinking long-term injury reserve might come into the equation as the team enters the season. There are always secret injuries, surprise injuries that most teams aren't even aware of themselves until players show up back, or those players get injured early on in training camp. That would give the Flyers time. They still have time, as they really only need to be under the cap prior to camp's start. At this point, the team is looking very prepared for a playoff position. I wouldn't expect Derick Brassard to play too much shorthanded time, but I could see him playing some power play time, especially if there are injuries. It does give the Flyers options to play several different combinations, as they are loaded on defense with guys who are two-way, and now offense guys who both have the ability to move the puck and play some defense. Derick Brassard's strength is not defense. I wouldn't expect him to be a short-handed guy, but he is very good on the face-off dot, as he had a few successful years in a row here, being above 50%. I don't think he'll be the Flyers' first choice for the shorthanded appearance, but maybe on the wing with a complimentary center is something I could see him be tried out. Clearly, Chuck Fletcher thinks the Philadelphia Flyers are a playoff team, and he's willing to spend to make it happen.